only, Rob doesn't do fusion, but when we do add the laser now to the heart or other areas, it does dose much quicker. So just as a sidelight, when you're doing fusion, like I know you'll be doing, we don't tend to have the 45-minute, but if it happens, it's incredible. So it's all good.
David, do me a deal on the laser.
Oh, got it.
And because I've been thinking about that, because there are certain acupuncture areas I know from Chinese medicine I don't easily use, but that have a very general effect. And if you combine that with doing scanner in one spot and the person holds that in a totally different area, I think that may be very interesting. I would love to experiment.
So you will be our research arm in Canterbury for that. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I can think of interesting areas, and not to be joking, but the area underneath.
Under the, say that again?
The area underneath.
The prostate on there.
Yeah. There is a accumulation of a particular type of energy. The other one is here really, or at the top of the head. But those are interesting areas. And what you do is people very easily, oh, your energy is blah, 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 you go to a chakra.
Right.
Yeah?
But
now,
boy, the root one that you're talking on the perineum,
yeah.
Boy, we're talking gold when that gets happened. So.
You're talking what?
When you were just saying you would love to do that point, is that the point near the perineum?
Yeah.
Okay. Miracles happen when that happens.
Okay.
So you're
but there are certain areas that are really interesting to use in combination. Yeah. So use it every third or fourth session would be my advice. Not all the time. So this is what I just explained about how to work on the three pathways and how you can sort of make the treatment stronger by doing more on it or less on it.
May I ask a question? Yesterday you talked about 5 pathways. When and how often would you incorporate that instead of using just the 3?
5 pathways. My advice is to work on the 3 pathways first. Then include the extra 2 outer paravertebral pathways, first left and right, avoiding the neck. I would do that when I see reason to do that, which means that either the treatment is progressing but not on a deep enough level, which doesn't easily happen. Usually it's okay. Or when the person is obviously still struggling with emotional issue, overthinking, mind doesn't stop, that kind of thing, or still getting into emotional trends as being too angry too easily or whatever. I would then consider doing those. And as I explained yesterday, you then approach what is called the outer bladder line in Chinese medicine. And the points there relate to the organs, organ functions, the functional aspect in the system, fairly directly, but more the emotional, mental, and sometimes spiritual side, quite deep levels. Names like Spirit Hall and Whale of Grief and all that relate to that. But I would advise not to go for those points, but just measure, because the scanner is a wonderful device to measure that. And then see, okay, there's an area there. So the way you find those, I'll do that now, but we'll come back to it later. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind being here some evening if there is time to do that and explain more about it. Is that, as we said yesterday, you have a person, and then you have the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades have a spine. This is an ideal position. When you feel the spine, and it is in that position that this is almost vertical, then you can be sure that from there, this is between 3 and 4. And then you can count up, and then you can say that's 1, and that is C7, and that is to be avoided. Usually it's a bit lower. Sorry. Bad drawing.
Why do you avoid C7?
I don't know why Karasev avoids it, but it is avoided. I know from Chinese medicine that there is an accumulation. Dr. Arena called it a fuse box, and that's a real good way of putting it. There's a real accumulation of meridians. In Chinese medicine it's called great hammer, the point. And that is, if somebody's not responding, you use that point and it gives a bit of a whack to the system, like when you shake something and then it frees up. Yeah? It has other meanings as well. You do other things with it as well. But I think that if you were to measure that and work there, that you interfere with all the other areas.
Has there been any work done on that?
Sorry?
Has there been any research maybe done with that to see?
Well, it comes back. There is another protocol I'm going to talk about later, which has to do with gynecological things, where you use the suprasternal notch and that spot as well. Yeah.
So there are many, I don't want to say many, there are times, like yesterday I did C7 on someone who was profound. And this is when the practice occurs where you're learning about it. But when you're doing these 3 and 5 pathways, the 7 is not an emphasis at all.
Yeah, it's in this context that you avoid that.
Don't go there point. And understand from scanner technology that there's other reasons why that was with that technology, which is changing. Some of us are now going into realms of what wasn't right before, and we're getting phenomenal results. But again, we're really good practice. We're feeling it. You know, there's other ways we're testing it.
Thanks. So to find these pathways, this is the spine, and right next to the edge of the scapula is the 4th and 5th, other 4th and 5th pathways. There you are. Then right in between, halfway, is the paravertebral one uses in the 3 pathways. That's how I do it. Ravenko says, there's the spine, and there's your electrode, and then you measure one, and there you go, that distance of 1 electrode behind. I say that's nonsense, because on a baby that is too far, and on a bloke that is not far enough. This is number 1, that's the spine. This is number 3, paravertebral. That is number 5, paravertebral. This is the edge of the scapula. Here is the electrode next to the edge of the scapula. Yeah? For some people it will be, for some people not. For some people there's a lot of space, but sometimes you'll be very close. But even though you're close, you haven't touched what is called the outer bladder line if you don't do this. Yeah? If you're near it, you may have affected it, there may be no need to do it. But at times it is really nice to do that. This is called the color zone. And again, it is a general zone worked out by Karasev, and I think that's really nice. He's worked out a variety of zones that keep the whole system in balance. So you treat specific areas, but you add to that other areas to keep everything in balance. Now the 3 pathways, of course, is right at the core of it, is right at the center. But a zone like the collar zone is good as well, and it works on the shoulders. In the traditions of Ravenko, one would say, if somebody has a headache, you choose that zone, and you can do that. I'm more inclined, as I explained all yesterday, to look at the person and look at not maybe the root factor, etc., or the key factor, and work with that if you can. But you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a balanced zone. All these zones are very balanced, very nice to work with. And what you do is, in the collar zone, first you work over this area here on the shoulder, and you indicate where C7 is. That's where you take a line, but you don't avoid it. You avoid the center, and this is not very well pictured, but you really avoid the center. I should have done that better, I apologize.
Would you avoid the center?
Yeah, you avoid the vertebrae. You go next to the vertebrae, and I haven't made that very clear, I now realize. So everybody, sure, avoid the vertebrae in the center. Just be on the left of it and on the right of it. The first electrode...
Okay, that's just in this case.
Just in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
In doing the process called the color zone, we just don't do the
Yeah,
central.
in this particular
Right.
algorithm. So then you start,
It's an algorithm?
it's called algorithms,
Yeah.
yeah. The order in which you do something and the manner in which you do it.
Thank you.
So first you go to the left and then to the right, as explained before, and your first electrode goes in the neck just above C71 line, and then the second one, third one, and you work your way through like that till that's the last one, and you dose the highest. Order collar zone, order shoulders, forehead, kidney projections, order within as indicated by those numbers. Always first left, then right from the viewer's point,
Can you go over the numbers?
because it's about the circle. Sorry?
Sorry, can you go through the numbers on here, because I can't read them?
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, I see, you're putting another template on that.
We're not really seeing the two very well, so. that's-
There is, what, 2 there? We are not there yet. We are here. We are working on the shoulder at the moment.
Okay.
There is no 2 indicated there. I understand that people, I think that people know that between 1 and 3 comes 2.
Oh, that's three there, is it?
That's what I meant. That's how I meant to put it.
What are the two numbers on this side? Like that? 3.
9 and 9. So you first start on the left. I'm still on the left on the shoulder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? You find the highest on the left, you dose that. Then you go to the right. And then you go from the center outwards.
Yeah, can I just show simply on you quickly how where steps are? It goes like this: 1, 2, 3.
You're
Okay.
on the spine now.
No, but I understand, but they're not. You're not on the spine. You are on the left of the spine.
Okay.
But it's first step, second step, third step. Then you go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's where the figure 9 came from on the screen. And then you're doing the same thing on the right. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And
Yeah. Order within as indicated, and I meant those numbers.
You do all on the left, then all on the right.
That's right. All on the left first, you dose. Then you go all on the right and you dose. That done, you then go to the forehead. Order 1 shoulders, 2 forehead, 3 kidney projections. That's the forehead. Standing in front of it, for the viewer, left first. So you read number 1, you read number 2, you dose the highest. If it is a big forehead and there's a lot of space, you can take a third one. Then you go to right for the viewer. 1, 2, or 3, dose the highest.
And you said this was a Karasif process, not a Revenko.
No. Did I? I do apologize. It's Revenko. All of these protocols are Revenko. Classic Russian protocols. It's called the classic Russian approach because there are other people who say, oh, I know a better way and I do it this way. Like myself, I say, I know another way that may be good, and that is, again, based on Chinese medicine, 5 elements. So having done the forehead and having dosed on each side, you then go to the kidney projections. And you find the kidney projections by drawing a line horizontal on the level between T12 and L1. There it is. And a line down from the edge of the scapula, and where they cross, you have the kidney projection. You first read the left one, then you read the right one, 1 and 2, and then you dose the highest of those 2. What zone? They are all part of what is called the collar zone. They're all part of it. And even though that is more on the collar, the other ones are there to make sure that the zone is a complete zone that will keep everything in balance. And it's based on Revenko's knowledge of the nervous system. He is a neurologist, and he's a very good practitioner. And a very bright. So all that together makes the collar zone, and that is a general zone. It keeps everything in balance. So if somebody comes with shoulder problems or problems you think that may fall into that category a bit more, either locally, it is used for migraines, for head problems, for neck problems. Irina, Dr. Irina, would you give a list of things when it is used? How would you indicate when would you use this?
Color zone?
Yeah?
Well, the color zone is a color zone is the zone of general regulation as well as the three pathways. But three pathways we consider the more basic technique. So three pathways are good for anything and everything as a general regulation of the system, general shaking of the system, and revealing where you go next. So it's helping the system to better understand itself. The color zone you can use also for everything and anything, but in particular in the situation where which are connected to immune system disorders, stress-related disorders, and believe it or not, gynecological and reproductive system situation.
Right.
Because color zone, first of all, connects, you have the maximum opposite symmetry from your reproductive zone to the neck and shoulders. So it's maximum opposite symmetry and influencing neck and shoulders. You at the same time influencing reproductive area, and consider that you are also influencing adrenals. You are balancing the sympathetic parasympathetic imbalance, which most of us do have. Most of us are sympathetically dominant. So you need to do that. Now, for immune system disorders, you see that the neck and shoulders and the neck area are the most powerful areas to balance the immune system. So that's for that. And of course, stress, that's where stress sits.
Yeah.
So this is, and of course, it's the most common use of this zone, but it doesn't mean that the only use. You can use it in any situation when you need to address the entire system. Does that?
Thank you.
No.
So now you know why we all respect Dr. Irina. So there's the gyno or the palm zone, as it's called. You understand why it's called the gyno zone, because you work just above the pubic bone. It's also called palm zone because the size of the area you work relates to the size of the palm of the person you're treating. If they put their palm there, then that indicates the size of the area you're working. And on the front, that area there is just above the pubic bone, on the edge of it. And then you work on the other side on the same level on the back. Then there is a suprasternal notch, and there is C7. And the order in which you go first above the pubic bone, then you go to the sacrum area, then to the suprasternal notch, and then to C7. Now you can do this, and the order in which you measure within the zone, again, is meant as the first position, second position, third and fourth position to measure, left to right, the same on the back. Then you measure, you compare between the suprasternal notch and C7. There are two ways. As one, if you want to do it very lightly, you compare the front and the back on the level of just above the pubic bone, and you dose one on either the front or the left. But I virtually always dose one in the front and one in the back. And then, but there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way, and it makes it a little lighter in treatment. And then I compare between the suprasternal notch and C7, and I dose one of the highest one of those two. Very good, of course, as the name suggests, for gynecological problems. I saw a lady and she had fibroids, and because the scanner had worked fantastically for her whiplash, acupuncture got it to 95% better. Never more than that. When the scanner came along, we tried it, 100% gone. She was sold. She felt so good in herself. Her husband said jokingly, "You won't treat her too often, will you?" Because she became herself and she spoke out. It's great. And so when she had fibroids, she wanted a scanner. So this was one of the protocols we did. We had 7 sessions over 2 months, and the fibroids had disappeared. 2 doctors told she was like being 13 weeks pregnant. It was like being 13 weeks pregnant according to the size of the fibroids. And they completely disappeared, which was great. And she always feels good. Once in a while she'll ring and she has a couple of sessions. I sometimes let people dictate the way we work. If that works well, that's fine. After all, some people have good gut feelings, and I'm happy to work with that first. I'm not in favor of overriding people's judgment at all. I would like to see people be free and be able to judge for themselves. So that's the gyno zone. And then there is another one, another general zone, which is the abdomen zone. The umbilicus is right in the center. You can then divide the abdomen into 4 quarters. And then you work at the top on the left, because you go from above to below, first left to right, above to below. So you work on the top here. And you start measuring left top, second one below there, 3, 4, and so through, in this case 8. You dose the highest, and then you go to the one below. As above to below, in my opinion, comes first, like on the 3 pathways, above to below, left to right. So you measure there, you dose 1, you dose 1 there, and you dose 1 there. Sorry, in this case we circle, a circle. You can do variations. The abdomen is a very nice place to do variations. Not on the spine. Okay, so the abdomen is a fantastic place to play around. But if you want to play around, you can use that order, above below. So you can do the left top, the left bottom, the right top, the right bottom. But you can also circle. So you do the left top, left bottom, right top. It's a variation. And you start the circle that way. I think the most basic is top, bottom, top, bottom.
But if you're going to circle, you want to go that way?
I go that way. Would there be a reason to go the other way?
I usually do clockwise.
You do clockwise.
I usually do, but that's just me.
I usually do anti-clockwise. There could possibly be, but what Dr. Davis was saying about sedating and tonifying, I would suggest to forget those terms. Because if you use those terms, you have to think about it, and then you have to think, and then you have to think, when do I tonify, when do I sedate, and you're going to make mistakes. Because you see somebody who's seemingly right up there, and you read their pulses, as one does in Chinese medicine, and the energy is boom, way down. And you see people who are very quiet and very like that, and the energy is right up, and the whole system is stuck. But it doesn't show in that fullness, it shows it in being depleted, seemingly. So you're going to make the wrong decision, so I'd like to leave those terms absolutely out of it. It's automated. It does what it needs to do in that sense, and that is great. That is lovely. Don't have to think about it. For an old acupuncturist who is used to use his mind all the time, what do I do, what do I do, am I doing the right thing, could I be doing better? I can just do.